what I was looking for.
Till I found her.
Now we with Queen Wilhelmina. Queen Wilhelmina was the queen of the Netherlands when Indonesia was still a Dutch colony. Although she never visited Sulawesi, her policies greatly affect the area. The first point, the ethical policy. Queen Wilhelmina started the adopt of her program, and directly this policy fought some colonial development like school, irrigation, and small infrastructure to regions in Sulawesi, including Makassar. The second point, symbols of power, as the supreme ruler statue and names of her family members, especially her daughter Juliana, were used to show Dutch authority there. In summary, Queen Wilhelmina was the Haina ruler who decided Sulawesi's fate from acquired the colonial policy and symbolism of power.
Raymond Westerling was a Dutch military officer born in 1919 who led the Special Force Unit DST in Indonesia after World War II. In 1946 until 1947, he carried out brutal operations in South Sulawesi by executing civilians without trial, burning villages and arresting people suspected of supporting the Republic. The number of victims is estimated to range from thousands to tens of thousands. Although he faced international criticism, Westerling was never prosecuted by the Dutch government. He left as a civilian in the Netherlands until his death in 1987. Today, his name is remembered as a symbol of colonial brutality in Indonesia.
Who became the leader of women's militia in the struggle to defend Indonesia independence in South Sulawesi. She also served in the Red Cross to care for wounded fighters while leading the women's militia in guerrilla operation against the colonial forces. She joined the Laskar Pemberontak Rakyat Indonesia Sulawesi (LAPRIS) and later the Laskar Harimau Indonesia, both guerrilla forces fighting against the colonizer. Emmy was killed in January 1947 after being captured, fighting until the end in defense of Indonesia independence. Today, she is remembered as a national hero who inspires nationalism and patriotism in future generations.
To understand the cultural richness of South Sulawesi, it is important to explore the history of Makassar traditional clothing. The traditional clothing of Makassar, especially Patunduk Kaluku, Baju Bodo, and Lipa Sabde, has existed since the era of the Gowatalo Kingdom, 16th century. At that time, traditional attire was used to show social status, honor, and personal role in society. Baju Bodo for women is known one the oldest traditional garments in the world. In Makassar, men's clothing such Bela Dada and Jas Tutup developed under Malay and colonial influences, yet still incorporate local elements like the Lipa Sabde, silk sarung. In Makassar, traditional attire also has a ritual function, especially in traditional ceremonies, weddings, and the welcoming of important guests.
Makassar sailors explored northern Australia Australia from the 18th century, hunting for valuable sea cucumbers for the Chinese market. They were known as Makassan. Every December, Bugis sailors from Makassar sailed to Australia, setting up camps on the coast to collect and dry tripang, which was then sold to South China for culinary and medical purposes. The Makassar people not only saw tripang but also traded with Aboriginal communities, introducing new goods and culture. This interaction lasted for over 3 centuries. Their arrival brought cultural and linguistic influences. Some words from the Makassar language are still used in original language in northern Australia, such as Rupiah, Jama, and Baranda. In the late 19th century, visits from Makassar began to decline, and in 1907, the last voyage occurred after the Australian government banned them to protect the local industry.
One is the loneliest number that you'll ever do. Two can be as bad as one. It's the loneliest number since the number one. One is the loneliest number that you'll